What was supposed to be a fun night out for McKenzie Cherell, her boyfriend Dominic Russo, and his friend David Flanigan in Strongsville, Ohio, would quickly turn into a nightmare. The trio set off for a casual evening, but by the early hours of the morning, McKenzie found herself behind the wheel of a Toyota Camry, and what began as an innocent outing soon became a catastrophic tragedy that would alter the course of several lives forever. The calm before the storm. A normal drive takes a dark turn. At first glance, everything seemed perfectly normal as the car approached an intersection. The group had been driving together for some time, enjoying the evening, laughing and talking. Dashcam footage shows their vehicle making a right turn at a familiar intersection, a turn that McKenzie had likely taken many times before. But just seconds after that turn, something changed. Without warning, the car surged forward, accelerating rapidly. Within moments, the vehicle reached a terrifying 100 miles per hour. The road was straight, the night clear, but the car was now speeding uncontrollably toward a disaster. In the blink of an eye, the car slammed into a building, completely demolishing the front end. The crash was so violent that the car's once solid frame was reduced to twisted metal, and the air was filled with the deafening sound of destruction. As police and emergency crews rushed to the scene, what they found was unimaginable.
I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken. I love Dom and David. We were all friends and Dom was my soulmate.
A heart-stopping rescue. The race against time. When the police arrived, the wreckage was a scene of absolute chaos. The three friends were trapped inside the mangled vehicle, each pinned by the brutal force of the impact.
No one should be here.
They are finally able to remove her from the wreckage.
She's moving a little bit. She can move her leg.
Body cam footage captured the frantic atmosphere as officers scrambled to rescue the survivors. One officer urgently said, "We'd got to get her out." McKenzie was trapped in the driver's seat, unable to move. She was still breathing, but she was pinned, her body trapped by the twisted metal. Firefighters arrived with the heavy tools needed to extract her from the wreckage. As they worked tirelessly, their efforts paid off. Slowly but surely, McKenzie was freed. When the officers finally pulled her out, she moved slightly, her legs shifting ever so slightly. "She's alive," one officer said, almost in disbelief. It was a miracle that McKenzie had survived, especially given the state of the car. A tragic loss. 2 lives cut short. While McKenzie was miraculously alive, the story took a tragic turn for her companions. Dominic Russo and David Flanigan were pronounced dead at the scene. The crash was simply too violent, the impact too overwhelming for them to survive. The devastation was palpable, not just for the families, but for the first responders who had to witness the aftermath. The images of the wreckage left everyone stunned, struggling to comprehend how McKenzie had emerged alive, while her friends lost their lives in an instant. The investigation begins. A darker truth emerges. As McKenzie was rushed to the hospital, investigators began to piece together the details of the crash. They discovered marijuana in the vehicle, and toxicology reports confirmed that McKenzie had a THC level above the legal limit. Immediately, suspicions arose. Was this simply an accident, or was there something more sinister at play? Questions began to surface. Was McKenzie under the influence of drugs while driving? Or was there a deeper, darker motivation behind the crash? The shocking data. Was it deliberate? The investigation took a shocking turn when McKenzie's friends and family began offering up disturbing details about her relationship with Dominic. Friends reported that the two had fought frequently, and some even recalled previous incidents where McKenzie had made threatening statements about crashing the car while Dominic was a passenger. This added a chilling layer to the investigation. Could this have been more than just a tragic accident? The investigation was further complicated when data from the Life 360 tracking app was revealed. The app tracks the speed and location of the car, and the data showed a clear pattern. The car had been driving normally for about 15 minutes, but then, without any warning, it accelerated to 100 miles per hour. Even more disturbing, the app data showed that the car never slowed down or braked before slamming into the building. It appeared as though McKenzie had deliberately hit the gas and driven full speed into the wreck. A history of troubling behavior. Clues point to intentionality. As investigators dug deeper into McKenzie's past, they uncovered even more troubling behavior. Witnesses came forward, revealing that McKenzie had previously threatened to crash the car while Dominic was in the passenger seat. The revelation left investigators wondering, could this have been an intentional act? Was McKenzie's crash a calculated decision rather than an accident? As the pieces fell into place, it became clear that McKenzie had a history of reckless behavior, and the crash on that fateful night may have been the tragic culmination of unchecked anger, substance abuse, and troubled relationships. The arrest. McKenzie's life forever changed. Months after the crash, McKenzie was arrested and charged with 2 counts of aggravated murder. Authorities believe that McKenzie had deliberately caused the crash. The Toyota's event data recorder confirmed their suspicions. It showed that McKenzie had never tried to brake, instead accelerating straight into the building at full speed. Her arrest was swift, and her parents, who had once known their daughter as a bright young woman with a promising future, were now thrust into a heartbreaking reality. The parents, still in disbelief, arrived at the police station, where McKenzie was being booked. In a tense moment, McKenzie's father, filled with anguish and frustration, expressed his disbelief, calling his daughter a dumb 18-year-old as he fought back tears. A courtroom battle for justice. The sentencing. McKenzie's trial began, and while her family pleaded for leniency, the court wasn't so forgiving. Despite the emotional plea from her parents for mercy, McKenzie was convicted and sentenced to 15 years to life in prison with the possibility of parole. The court's decision was a reflection of the severity of the crime and the devastating consequences for the lives of Dominic and David. In an emotional post, David's father shared his grief on Facebook. "We do not seek vengeance, only justice for our son, who was nothing more than an innocent passenger, just looking for a ride home." The words, filled with pain and sorrow, echoed the heartache of a family torn apart by a senseless act of violence. The aftermath. Lives forever change. The tragic events surrounding McKenzie's crash on that fateful night have left a lasting impact on all involved. 2 young lives were lost in an instant, and McKenzie's life, once filled with potential, was forever altered. Her troubling relationship with Dominic, her substance use, and the reckless behavior all culminated in an unimaginable tragedy that could have been avoided. The crash raises serious questions about the pressures young people face in relationships, the consequences of unchecked anger, and the devastating impact of substance use. In the end, McKenzie's actions led to a profound loss of life, not just for Dominic and David, but for their families, their friends, and everyone who knew them. McKenzie's future, once bright, is now filled with uncertainty as she serves her sentence. The Russo and Flanigan families will never be the same, and McKenzie's actions serve as a chilling reminder of how a seemingly fun night out can spiral into tragedy in the blink of an eye. A stark warning for you all. This story is a reminder that behind every tragic news story, there are real lives at stake. The choices we make, especially when emotions are high, can have lasting and irreversible consequences. McKenzie's actions that night were the result of a combination of personal struggles, substance abuse, and a toxic relationship. The aftermath is something that will haunt all involved for the rest of their lives. As for McKenzie, she must now face the consequences of her actions. The crash that night forever changed her life, and it stands as a grim reminder of how destructive reckless behavior can be. The lives lost in that crash will never be forgotten, and their families continue to live with the pain of that fateful night. Let me know your thoughts on this tragic story in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. Stay safe, stay aware, and remember, sometimes the smallest decisions can have the most devastating consequences.